after close viewership and attendance victories over Raw in the debut week of the brand extension era. SmackDown attempting to follow up on the momentum promoted Triple H vs Kurt Angle and Chris Jericho vs Edge as the top two matches on the night, with the experimental stage of the brand split set to continue this Monday night, with the company set to run the first SmackDown house show head-to-head with a live Raw broadcast on TNN, starting the new SmackDown Crew Road schedule of working the weekend house shows before the SmackDown TV taping on Tuesday, with Kurt Angle opening the show for the second week in a row, hyping his match against Triple H later tonight, bringing out Edge to make the challenge and set up Angle vs Edge for the Backlash pay-per-view, and with crowds occasionally chanting along for the past year, especially during the last several months. Edge encouraged the crowd to start the "You Suck" chant along with Angle's entrance song to officially start the trend for the first time. With last Thursday being Rock's last SmackDown appearance for the foreseeable future, with him not scheduled to be on WWF television for the next 2 months after starting the Scorpion King media tour during the week, Hulk Hogan and Triple H are set to occupy the place as the top babyfaces on the SmackDown brand, with Angle and Jericho set to be established on the night as the top two heels in opposition, forming a team to go against Edge, Hogan and Hunter, with SmackDown's first two matches of the night following up on the two heel turns of last Thursday, first with Tajiri vs Hurricane followed by Albert against Scotty in their first match since the turn, with Albert set for a big singles push as a heel. After winning the first weekend house show tours on Saturday and Sunday, with the SmackDown shows headlined by Triple H vs Jericho and Angle vs Edge outdrawing the Raw shows headlined by Austin vs Taker by 14 to 11,000 people in attendance, the company, despite the crowds on the night, recognizing that it might not hold up when people realize that Rock and Hogan are not gonna appear on most shows, looked to counter the trend before the consequences, with Hogan asked to work several more dates a month starting on May 4th to make up for Rock's absence, along with Hunter, who despite being allowed to appear on both brands is set to work almost exclusively on the SmackDown shows due to almost all the Raw headliners, with Austin and Taker in particular working a full-time schedule, with SmackDown next seeing a Hogan backstage interview hyping his shot to be WWF champion again before being interrupted by Chris Jericho in the first Hogan and Jericho on-screen interaction, despite them working over 3 years in WCW at the same time, saying that if Hunter loses to Hogan at Backlash his entire comeback story goes down the drain, telling Hogan that unlike the mutual admiration he had with Rock that he doubts Backlash would end with a Hogan-Hunter handshake, with SmackDown's first hour after opening lower than usual, with the first half hour averaging 4.5 million viewers, picking up over a million viewers to a 3.6 rating for Jericho vs Edge, going 7 minutes in the 8:45 to 9 p.m. quarter to see Edge having the match won before Angle's interference, with Edge, similar to Van Dam on Monday, being put over strong in a loss, with him targeted to be elevated into main event status in the near future, setting up the post-match backstage brawl, with Hogan making the save for Edge against Jericho and Angle. SmackDown's top of the hour quarter saw Vince McMahon coming out for his personal assistant auditioning, bringing out several candidates to set up the payoff, with Stacy Keibler coming out in her former WCW 2000 character to get the job, bumping SmackDown over 1.2 million viewers to over the 7 million viewers range, with Vince on the same day as the SmackDown broadcast aired in the US, holding a big press conference in Melbourne, Australia Thursday night along with Stacy and Mark Henry to announce the WWF's return to Australia for a major 60,000 stadium event in August, with Vince in the conference making it clear that the show is scheduled to be an exclusive SmackDown event, with Rock and Hogan promoted to appear as the top two names on the tour. with Vince noting that it would be Hogan's Australia debut while also confirming that Rock would be back from his recent hiatus in the next 3 months in the lead up to the event, with Rock meanwhile starting the biggest media tour ever seen in the industry, with him practically appearing all over television outside of the WWF TV programs and a massive promotional tour for the Scorpion King set to debut next Friday, with one of Rock's most talked about interviews during the Media Blitz also coming on the night, with him being interviewed on ESPN's unscripted talk show, calling his WrestleMania 18 match with Hogan the greatest match in the history of the industry and the biggest night of his career, while also establishing the new reality of his career going forward, saying that he will always be part of the company even if it's for 10 or 1 night a year, with the most notable part of the interview inside the company coming next, with Rock asked if there's any jealousy from the rest of the wrestlers, confirming that there's dishonesty from several people in the company who won't talk to him face to face but instead talk behind his back, saying that jealousy amongst his peers is inevitable while deciding not to list specific names other than saying that they are in really good positions in the company, immediately starting the guessing on who he was referring to, with the most obvious one being Triple H based on their history, and with Rock confirmed to be back by August for the Australia show. In another interview he also confirmed his next movie to start shooting in the summer, pretty much ruling him out from having any full-time wrestling role for the rest of the year past September, with SmackDown next seeing another Hogan-Triple H confrontation just before the main event, with Hogan offering to help him in the match against Angle if Jericho interferes, with Hunter responding that he will take care of his own business, and for the next 10 days on the way to their match he only sees Hogan as a rival, taking a subtle shot while hyping their Backlash match, saying that unlike the Clash of the Egos at Mania, Backlash will be a fight, with the line bringing more attention to Rock's jealousy and dishonesty. Quote, after the recent Rock-Triple H clash saw Hunter heavily politicking behind the scenes to get his title match going last on the Mania pay-per-view. Triple H vs Kurt Angle went 9 minutes in the TV main event to close the show back with over 7 million viewers, setting up Jericho, followed by Hogan interfering for the finish, with Hunter going over before calling Hogan back to the ring, again telling Hogan to stay out of his business, with Hogan responding that until Backlash Hunter is his only business, to eventually lay him out in the first physical shot of the build-up, closing the show establishing Angle and Jericho as the top heels on the brand, laying out both Hogan and Hunter, with SmackDown in the first show without Rock taking a major hit of almost 1 million viewers on last week, and the recent average in general to draw a 3.5 rating with 5.8 million viewers, and after winning by a close margin last Thursday, the second week of the brand extension era, saw Raw taking the lead by an over 800,000 viewers margin in an unusually large gap in Raw's favor, with the company hoping that this Thursday is a one-week aberration and not a developing pattern, with the positive news on the night being that the broadcast picked up viewers throughout, with over 2.3 million viewers added as the show went on, after starting with 4.5 million viewers in the first half hour before ending with over 6.8 million in the final 30 minutes.